Yeah, so here's something my dad would say, like on the way to the store or when we would drive to Waffle House or something like that. It was like this limerick he would go. There was this prostitute named Alice. She used a dynamite stick for a phallus. They found her vagina in North Carolina and her asshole in Buckingham Palace. And then, they go into Walmart and act like none of that shit ever fucking happened. How's it going? Welcome back, my tabloids. Welcome back. This is episode 2, titled Nostalgia. I repeat, nostalgia. And the definition of nostalgia is pretty much just a pleasant remembrance. And we all know what nostalgia is. For most of us, it's cartoons or like an old song or, something your family used to dance around, some shit like that. And that's a token of one's childhood, I'd imagine, whether it be like a cartoon or an old song or something you would see on TV, an old painting, a video game. Little constant reminders of bliss and happiness of a time where things were simpler, I'd imagine. And nostalgic moments that really enrich you, in which wonders you had before we grew up, before you got mature. How ignorance is bliss. That's where nostalgia comes from. A moment where you really didn't really know what was on the other side. You just knew that it was something special. But do we ever really grow up? Do we ever really mature or become that person that we think we would be in about 30 years? Because what is that? Because time is cyclical, so we only have now. All that we have is the forever now. But we have to channel nostalgia. We have to really hone that energy. Really spark that energy you had as a child. Really transmute that past happiness that you had and make it into a current happiness. Make it into something that you can hold in your hands now, opposed to referring to something you had once or something that you don't have anymore. Like, nostalgia is very much an illusion anyway. It's very much a distant memory. It's an emotion. It's a feeling. But that doesn't mean that it can't be real, Doesn't mean that it can't be something that you can touch, something that you can actually hold in your hands. Like a toy, for example. Like, toys for me or very nostalgic. And no, not those kinds of toys, of course. Like Power Ranger toy figures, action figures. Power Rangers. I mean it. Now, if that's not something that's not nostalgic for us all in one way or another, I mean, come on. I mean, you got the costumes, the colors, the action. My favorite one was Blue Ranger. I don't know. Red Ranger was kind of a dick to me. Kind of an asshole. The Blue Ranger was always cool, calm and collected, and the black guy, I mean, come on, was always just underwritten as this black guy, for lack of a better term. But I digress. Yeah, you had the costumes, the action, the sparks that would fly off the enemies when they would be destroyed, quote unquote. They would use that term a lot. I'm gonna destroy you, or the whole city's gonna be destroyed. I'm like, what does that mean? People are gonna die. Like, people are gonna be killed. I get it. It's a kid's show and whatnot, so they couldn't really say much, but you get the gist. But I get it, But somebody saying I'm gonna destroy you sounds just as much as horrifying. Well, what do they know? But that's what happens in a kid show. A lot of unanswered, uncomprehensible things as a kid. And then you look back when you're older and then you realize, wow, that's what that meant. Oh, that was a dirty joke, or that was symbolic for this much darker meaning. Much like life. And that goes back to nostalgia and how ignorance is bliss and how there was a time where you thought the world was the way it was, and now it's not. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of a bittersweet. Bitter as in, damn, the world isn't what I thought it was. Sweet as in, the world isn't what I thought it was. Nothing is finite. Nothing is still. There's still a chance for you to warp the world how you want to see it, and not just see it as colorful as ever. Because I'm very much a childlike soul, because I believe in the fountain of youth, and that's pretty much a great way to get there. It's just believing in your inner child and really laughing a lot, being happy, positive, smiling. That's the true key. And that's what's going to get you there. At least I believe. And there's that whole stigma where when you're an adult, you have to be this miserable, detrimental zombie, basically. As long as it means that you are safe and get what you want, kind of out of life. White picket fence, wife for a husband, basic, just over broke life. And that's all. Retired at 75 and then broke. Or whatever the fuck, a variation of those combinations. And for what? Why does it have to be such a stone fate? Why does it have to be something that has to happen? Or something that somebody would want? Why would you want that in life? Why would you want to be guaranteed taken care of safely? Where's the excitement? Where's the risk? The danger? That's the stuff that you take home with you, not the stuff that is boring and safe. Yeah, that has its place. However, I think we as human beings thrive on excitement and the joy of the unknown, and how life really is an ocean, and we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more to discover. And you may think you hit a dip at 30 or dip at 40 or 20, but there's still so much more. That's what life is. Dips and dives, twists and turns, coils and curves, or whatever the fuck. That's what it's about. And as long as you realize that and take heed of that, or take heed of, once you realize that, life becomes much more easier. Becomes much more in flow, and then you realize what you're meant to do, and that's where the growth comes. That's where the connection with life and what you're here to do comes from. But you got to start from the within. You got to start from where it started, and that's exactly where it started, from your childhood. What did you watch as a kid? What did you listen to as a kid? What made you feel at home? What made you scared? What's your love language? Knowing these things really helps you take control of your life now. Because we hold on to so many things from the past that bleed into our present life, and we don't even know what's happening, because that's how smooth time is. It bleeds into the future, it bleeds into the past, it bleeds into the current times, and then so on and so forth. Repeat the cycle. But once you stop and you take a look at yourself in the mirror and you take a look at where you've been, hopefully you can find where you're going. And that connects with what makes you feel nostalgic. What gives you nostalgia? What gives you that energy of bliss and childlike energy? What gives you that power? Because you got to find it. Because, of course, energy can't be created nor destroyed. And if you're not creating energy, if you're not destroying it, you're just giving it away, pretty much. And it's just going into the cycle. It's going into the void, the empty void that you're trying to fill. Most of the voids that we try to fill are from nostalgia itself, going backwards in time, wanting it to be like that time, like the first time or last time. That's also the stigma that's what keeps us from being, I guess, truly happy, is our addiction to nostalgia and how things used to be. Like COVID, for example. We're nostalgic on how things used to be before COVID. But even before COVID, we were like, oh, life sucks. And then now we're like, fuck, I wish life could have gone back. For me, though, COVID-wise, if we're talking about that, I think it propelled us into a forward way of thinking, and made us better human beings. So I think it's one of the best things that happened to us from that point of view. However, I know it was, genetically modified, governmentally made, and it was just used to create fear. But once you look beneath all that and you use it from a point of strength, you come out on top and then you win. And that doesn't make all the things that sucked in life in vain, I believe. And that also connects with nostalgia. It all comes back to nostalgia and how things used to be, and our driving force of addiction towards how things used to be. I think that's what makes us human, but it also connects us all to each other. And that's my point of view on nostalgia, guys. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about something that I haven't thought of yet. But tune in. Yep, we're tuning in, doing these things weekly. Thank you, guys. Thank you, my fellow tabloids. Peace out. Love and peace. Piece of pizza.